So everybody, I've got a bottle of our brand new product that we developed in cooperation with the Zebrafish Research Lab here at Essentia. This is our product NutriaPlus, and we're super excited about this product and how it's going to impact people's health. And maybe you can just take us through, both of you, a little bit about the process, you know, in simple terms that you went through and that we all discussed how we were going to develop the product and the way it all played out to end up with this finished product.
I'll start the first half. I mean, so you have a product, Intra, that is doing very, very well.
Right.
And it has its unique properties.
Yes.
And the NutriaPlus is also an antioxidant. So we were very conscious that when there are two products in the market, this NutriaPlus has to help and enhance the ability
not
of
work against.
Not work against.
Okay.
I mean, two anti-inflammatories put together, they are not better anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
And it can be actually very harmful in certain respects. So we had to be very cognizant of that fact. And so when we developed this product, at every step, we really looked at what physiologically it is impacting and how, in presence of Intra, it is not really causing any adverse reactions or effects.
Right.
And that was the fundamental aspect of designing NutriaPlus. And that's how initial Nutria, I mean, it worked. It's a great product. But what it was never positioned to be, or it was never really designed on additional areas that it would fulfill from with Intra, or it gives an additional physiological boost on certain areas that the Lifestyles had a vision on. And so that's how we started in the lab, looking at the antioxidant effect of this, but not antagonizing Intra, and how physiologically actually we could see the effect of that. And then once the lab put that structure and we could understand what ingredients it is, then the second half really gave the life to that product.
And I think, you know, in a formula, in a natural health product formula, there's a very critical component, and that is the relationship of the ingredients to one another. So where the research came in is really, again, understanding that relationship and that proper dosage amount that ended up with a product that was synergistic in combination. Once we understand that relationship and we understand what ingredients are, then we really need to be very selective in our sourcing of the raw materials. So it goes through a very a rigorous criteria in terms of selecting the material, because we want materials that we can standardize going into manufacturing.
Correct.
If we can standardize these materials going into manufacturing, the ability to produce a product that has batch-to-batch efficacy is really the result of that process.
Right. So just sort of to backtrack a little, step number one, make sure the new formulation works in cooperation with Intra, nothing fighting each other, ingredients all working together, right? And then step number two was where the Zebrafish came in. And tell us a little bit about what you did with the ingredients and the Zebrafish, and what that means to everybody listening.
So here is the thing, that the vision behind this product was that it has to impact physiologically many different areas, but primarily from the oxidative stress in the body, because it's an antioxidant. And aging, the aging of the cells of the body is primarily triggered by the oxidative stress in the body. So that was one of the markers that we had to look for. The other sides were from the inflammatory side. So, you know, abnormal growth in the body, which is, one year we know by a medical term called cancer, but there are multiple different kinds of abnormal growths in the body. But all of them, there is a fundamental background of it is inflammatory response to it. And because of the inflammation, there's new vascularization, vascular formation, or there's new blood needs to be fed to these cells so that they can grow beyond a particular size. If you can prevent that, and if you have that anti-inflammatory properties, then you can actually prevent the cells from outgrowing what the body can control, and then it becomes cancer. So the unique property of this, when we were designing this EA, was one of the minimum requirements was that it has to prevent that new vessel formation, which is angiogenesis.
Right.
There are lots of chemotherapy drugs out there which are VEGF inhibitors or angiogenesis inhibitors that are currently under clinical trial, or actually some of them are approved today for very specific cancers. So this one has a unique ability to actually prevent the formation of the vessels. This product, and it is not specifically like a VEGF inhibitor or that kind of a statement. It's actually physiologically you can see vessels not forming, being inhibited because of the presence of the product. And that, I think, was a real breakthrough when we were designing the product.
So, we're talking, when you talk about inflammation and you talk about abnormal cellular growth, I think it's important people sort of know how that happens, right? And it can be things like air pollution, it can be things like stress, it can be poor diet.
Injuries, poor diet.
All the things that, affect people on a daily basis, right? That sort of gets back to, again, you use a natural health product that can help your body reduce inflammation, heal better, right?
Yeah.
And then you're preventing diseases, right?
Correct.
So it's kind of getting back to that prevention again, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And these were the dimensions that we wanted to add into the intra story.
Right. So, and just so, again, everybody knows, right? You were able to expose the fish to stress, and you were able to give them the finished product and monitor how they responded to that, right?
Yes.
And we saw that the stress was less. We saw that the tissue swelling was less, right?
Tissue repair was better.
Right. Okay. Better tissue repair, right? So wound healing, that type of thing.
And also like UV damage of the skin. I mean, exposure to UV.
Okay.
And UV has two-pronged. I mean, once it causes a lot of the stress and death of cells, but also it impacts the DNA of the cells. So if there is no support available in real time when actually exposure is happening, over time it leads to deteriorating skin cells and cancerous growth and other things.
And UV exposure, we're talking sunlight, right? So we're talking things that especially people in warm countries where the sun's very, very hot, right? They're being exposed to that, right? And
a lot of these moles actually evolve and become cancerous because of these the sun exposure, UV exposure to the sun.
So you were able to use the formulation, give it to the fish, and monitor the results of the fish, and you can really say with a lot of confidence, because you've been doing this research for many years, that what happens in those fish is what's going to happen in us.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Because there is a physiological level that Health Canada defines what is the minimum level that you will need for your physiology to work.
Okay.
And there is a highest limit that beyond which will probably not be beneficial and harm you.
Right.
So that daily dosage that is for humans, that dosage has been approved because of its physiological impact that the ingredients are causing. The zebrafish is, again, because of its ability you can see the physiology in action, you can actually control the dosage to a point where it really mimics the same physiological impact in humans, in the fishes.
Right.
So you get a more real physiological readout from the fish that is translatable to the humans.
Right. Okay, great.